Welcome back to the Learning Commons. We have Coach Clark here with us, the head coach of the football program here at Bridgewater. So how did it feel to get back to the NCAA playoffs?
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of work went into it. We had to overcome a lot of obstacles, not just the outside obstacles, but the internal obstacles that we have. And I really think what it got into is it was just neat to share it with a different generation. A lot of people, on the campus have heard about it. And it was something we hadn't done in a while, and even though we've been competitive in that little absence, it was a great experience. I wish we could have extended it, but that's the neat thing about sports. You're always one win away from being happy, but that win will never come. You'll always be chasing it, and it's a kind of a fact we just have to accept.
Speaking of that first-round matchup, you got a tough one against Delaware Valley, and you look at the run they went on. They went to the quarterfinals and gave the national champs North Central a much tougher game than they got in the national championship game. So do you really think you had a team this year that was right at the top nationally? It was just sort of how it shook out with the bracket?
Well, so much in Division III in the first round is really based on money. They're going to try to reduce costs and travel, and that was a tough draw. You had the number 3 seed in the South going against the number 3 seed in the East to save some money, and we knew that was a tough draw. But that being said, we had opportunities to win that game. We had a chance to make some plays in the fourth quarter we didn't make, and we had our window. I think once you get to that level, take away some of those East teams that come down, you're probably going to have to play pretty hard anyway. But in that sense, we didn't get cheated. We had our opportunities, and certainly when you get into playoff football or playoff in any sports, it's a great opportunity. Treat it as a bowl game, and you got to play the card you're dealt. And we were dealt a tough card and didn't play it perfectly.
So, you come off this past season. How do you keep the momentum going into next season and from there on after?
Well, my hope is that the success that we had, one, it's got to energize the people within the program. The young kids really, a lot of times you talk about a vision of what it's like to be on a championship team, what it's like to play in a championship game, which we had here against Randolph-Macon before the playoffs. And now you can go to those young kids, hopefully, and say, hey, you've seen the reality. Is it worth sacrificing for? Is it worth working to continue on? That's been our interior goal. On the outside, we try to recruit. I wish I could tell you people are just running here because of it. No, it's still a tough battle. And unfortunately, in a Division III situation, sometimes by the time the kids end up making decisions, they've forgotten your record. So, recruiting's still a tough battle. There's still a lot of voices out here. But, my hope is that we can have a great off season. We're going to be starting our non-traditional here next week, the end of next week, and carry momentum through the summer. And next year, if we get in a tight situation, I'm hoping I have enough kids in the program that say, hey, I've been here before and I know how to win and perform in the clutch, and that's got to be our hope.
Given what an incredible senior class you had, especially at certain positions, do you feel that, frankly, some of these young players were good enough this year to contribute to a lot of college programs and were just blocked and now hopefully are ready to then step in next year?
That's hard to tell and analyze. There's no question. I had 21 seniors on the team, and a high percentage of those guys were difference makers on Saturday. Beyond, we had 4 what I call play-up players in the program. There are players that are playing Division III football that probably didn't belong at this level. But candidly, I also had about 14 topped-out 21 and 22-year-olds that had really maxed themselves out as an athlete and were out there playing. And, that took some time. So, I'm not going to try to overanalyze it. I do think there's going to be certain positions, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, that we're going to have some quick maturity. We have some young, talented kids, but we're not going to say, well, let's take a couple years and grow, because unfortunately last year's record becomes next year's quota, and we're going to have to go into this season with some high goals. My hope is our kids have learned to win and they expect to win, and I feel we can compete. Do we have to rebuild? Yes, we do, but the cupboard isn't bare either. I return some people on both sides of the ball that I still feel are of championship caliber.
Yeah, so looking ahead to next season, you open up ODAC play very early in the schedule, and you open that up with 2 games on the road. So just talk a little about how it's going to be, different starting on the road and starting ODAC play early in the schedule.
Yeah, don't get consulted on that a lot. We tried to renew the Stevenson game, and they wouldn't do it. So the idea is, Southern Virginia, for us to get a home game in week 4, they agreed to move that game to week 2. It is what it is. My hope is that I made that comment when the schedule came out, is that we're going to be playing a Gettysburg team that will have a completely new staff. Sometimes that's tough to prepare for in an opening game. You got to anticipate they're going to be doing different things, but they're going to be doing them with great enthusiasm. Then certainly having the road conference game in week 2, that's going to give us a lot of accountability in those 23 days of practice before the first game. And, all I can do is hope that gives us a tight focus. And on a certain level, you got to make summer ball and your preparation really about you. I can't control what the opponents do. Let's make it about ourselves, make it about maturing young kids quickly, and the bottom line is put the ball down and play. It's still fun to compete. In the next win, we've had some great wins. The next win, I still think that'll be the best one if we can go out there and grab it.
Today is Day of Giving, and your program has had a lot of great fundraising recently. We have a matching gift today, a challenge out there for the Michael and Sharon Clark scoreboard. You've done fundraising for championship rings recently. How important has fundraising and alumni support been to running your program?
I mean, it's the lifeblood, because in Division III, money matters in any division, and I wish we had TV revenue coming in from ESPN. That doesn't happen at this level, but I do. I think it's the lifeblood, and I think certainly the donations that people make to programs, when they go specifically to the programs, they're programs that I get a say in how it's directed, and sometimes that's important to us, because there's a lot of times those subtle things that you just kind of need to get done that you might not remember in a budget thing. But it also, I think this year too, it keeps the people on the back end connected. We always try to use our thing. You want to always be an eagle. And I think the great programs aren't just about what they're doing on game day or on the 2020 season. It's what the people that have benefited from these programs before are doing. And the great programs have a core and have teammates that continue to be great teammates and give back. And certainly whether it's a $5 or a $5,000 gift. I mean, when somebody chooses to give back, they're staying connected. They're staying connected to the Bridgewater experience, and they're trying to pass it on to the next generation. And certainly I've been here a long time, and that's always been a thrill for me when I get to share something new with another generation. And, you people on the outside that find it in your heart and your pocketbook to give, you're doing the same thing, and I hope you get the same thrill with it.
Well, thanks for joining us today, and it was an exciting fall, and hopefully if things keep rolling as we get to the 2020 season.
Hey, I'm undefeated, okay, at least so far. Nobody's beaten me in 2020, and I'm a heavy favorite till September 5th.